gospel today is very similar, the gospel from Luke today is very similar to the gospel in Matthew that we call the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is best known for the 8 Beatitudes. Matthew's account spiritualizes the suffering of the blessed. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the meek, those who mourn, the peacemakers, the clean of heart, and so on. However, Luke's account today is significantly different. He speaks to the truly destitute. Luke's emphasis is on the downtrodden, the outcast, the disenfranchised, the poor. Justice will be theirs. In Luke's gospel today, there are only 4 what we might call Beatitudes, but there's an additional 4, woe to you. Those who have everything that the others don't have will lose it, while the poor, the hungry, and those in mourning, they will receive it. We live in a world where it seems that success is defined as being beautiful, being wealthy, being popular, having the best job, the biggest home, the nicest car. That's success, as our culture defines success. In today's readings, really challenges. The first reading is pretty straightforward, and it's really, it says, cursed is the one who trusts in human beings, who seeks his strength in flesh. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose hope is in the Lord. And the gospel challenges us today to make the best use of our time, our treasure, and our talent. My father had an older sister whose name was Ruth, and Ruth never married, and known in those days as an old maid. And she was deeply religious and very Catholic. She was not a success in, as many of us as we define success in this world, but she was very much a success in preparing for life in the next world. Ruth lived in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and she would always come to visit us once a year. And she was my dad's older sister, so she always had advice for him, telling him what to do, and she freely gave of her advice too. But my mother always kept a very clean house. But when Ruth was coming, she started cleaning the house a day earlier. My mom and dad always had 2 cocktails on Saturday night, but when Ruth was there, it was only 1 cocktail. It was always a struggle to make Mass on time, but when Ruth was there, we were at church 10 minutes earlier. She never had much of material goods, and what she did have, she pretty much gave away to the janitor in the building or the homeless she met on the streets. She always had extra cash in her purse to give to somebody who needs it. God, her Catholic faith, and sharing whatever she had with others was the major themes of her life. When Aunt Ruth died many years ago, my wife and I flew to Harrisburg for the funeral. We knew there would not be too many people at the wake because she had no family, no husband, and most of the relatives did not live in Harrisburg, so we knew there would be very few people at the wake, but we wanted to show the undertaker that somebody cared, and we were correct. The wake was pretty sparse and poorly attended. However, when we went to the funeral mass in the downtown Harrisburg the next day, it was a completely different story. The word had gotten out among the poor and the homeless that Ruth had died. I saw something at communion that I'd never seen before. During Mass, when people came up to communion, these people would put their hands on Ruth's casket and pat it gently, saying, "We miss her." Many did not go to communion, but they had this terrific love for Ruth. It was very touching to see these people who just came in off the streets acknowledging my aunt. They were just saying goodbye to Ruth. She was truly a woman of God and a saint in their eyes. After Mass, many of us stuck around in the vestibule, and we had an opportunity to talk to them. And they told us stories about her countless generosity and how she gave them everything that she had, really. My Aunt Ruth was materially poor, but spiritually, she was very, very wealthy. In fact, after the funeral, her expenses were paid. Her total net estate was $1,500. That's not much of a financial legacy to leave. Her estate planning was pretty poor for this life, but her spiritual planning was pretty great for the next life. So I guess that's really the theme of this homily, in a sense. What kind of a legacy will we be remembered for? Most of us don't like to think about death, particularly our own death, but reality tells us that death is inevitable. And someday each one of us will be called before the throne of God to give an account of ourselves. When people come to our funeral mass and our casket's out here in between the rows, right in front of the communion rail, what kind of a legacy will we be remembered for? Will it be a legacy of material wealth, new cars, beautiful home, and a large investment portfolio? Woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Or will it be a legacy of spiritual wealth, a care and compassion for others, and a sharing of our wealth to those in need? Blessed are those who are poor, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Will it be a legacy of thinking of ourselves as number one by filling ourselves with our own material wealth and good and wasting what we consume? Woe to you who are filled now, for you will be hungry. Or will it be a legacy or a legacy of sharing our time and our talent and the treasure to the homeless, the poor, and those in need? Blessed are you who are now hungry, for you will be satisfied. Will it be a legacy of vain, boastful pride and inflated ego, making fun of others and degrading them? Woe to you who laugh now, for you will grieve and weep. Or will it be a legacy of humility, of thinking of others before yourself? Blessed are you who are weeping now, for you will laugh. In closing, as people come up to communion at our funeral mass, and our casket's out there in the middle of the pew, hopefully they'll want to reach out and touch our casket and say to themselves, this person made a difference. And the question we have to ask ourselves is the world a better place because we have walked on it? Is the world a better place because we have walked on it? One of my favorite quotations is, it's not what you gather, but what you scatter that tells what kind of a life you've lived. It's not what you gather, but what you scatter that tells what kind of a life you've lived. So what kind of a legacy will we leave? A material legacy or a spiritual legacy? The choice is up to us, you and me.
Hello, OLPH. My name is Mary Lynn Januszewski, and I'm the Director of Finance and Operations at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Parish in Glenview, Illinois. And this message comes to you with heartfelt gratitude and thanks for your ongoing generosity and support of OLPH Parish. This overwhelming generosity allows us to continue to serve and to minister to the parish community in so many different ways. So thank you, OLPH, for all you do. You are much appreciated.